Welcome to Falls Count Anywhere, where the wrestling ring meets the heart. Hosted by the gentleman Jody Powell, join us as we dive into the latest pro wrestling news and rumors, from the electrifying world of WWE to the inspiring stories of wrestling for Christ. This is your all-access pass to the action, the faith, and the hope. This is Falls Count Anywhere.
Hello, wrestling fans, and welcome to Falls Count Anywhere. I'm your host, the gentleman Jody Powell. With me, as always, is the mad scientist, Mike Buchanan, deep in the Buchanan Laboratory. Mike, what's up, buddy?
Not a whole lot. What's up over there in South Carolina?
Oh, man, I don't think the weather can decide. Our weather's a little bipolar. We had 80 degrees there a couple of weekends ago, and we're supposed to get a little bit of snow tomorrow. What in the world, man?
It's global warming, Jody.
Well, it's not global warming, it's global freezing. It's freezing cold outside. Somebody smack Al Gore in the face. Global warming. No, don't do that. Don't do that. Somebody out there is going to go smack Al Gore, and I'm going to get blamed for it. Don't do that. He didn't create it. He didn't invent it, no matter what he says, because it doesn't exist. Anyway, what does exist is what you're working on in the Buchanan Laboratory, and I want to know what it is, man.
Well, you kind of led into it.
Uh-oh.
For those
Are you working on a weatherizer or something?
No.
Oh, okay.
For the Men in Black fans, they had that neuralizer where they'd spray it on the people and they'd forget what they saw.
Yeah.
Well, we're missing something in this country and probably all over the world. It's called common sense, like Al Gore, who invented the internet.
Hey, we might need a neuralizer for the audience for the last 2 minutes.
But you hit it, you push the button, and they instantly have common sense. No more thinking a man is a woman. No more thinking that they invented the internet or that there's global warming whenever it just doesn't exist. Neuralizer. Sensializer.
The sensializer. Adding common sense to the fairly uncommon. I like it, man. I'll tell you what that will do. It will decrease my road rage. Because, everyone that tends to tempt me into my flesh on the road is because they don't have any common sense. They don't know how to drive. So I would be glad to sensibilize a lot of drivers that are out on the road. That's good, buddy. I like it. Well, I tell you let me tell you what doesn't make sense is to let your retiring star come on into a press conference and say that it's good for business for him to be the WWE champion. So let's talk a little Elimination Chamber, man. It's coming up. It's coming up this Saturday, March 1st. And Mike, I've got a little fantasy booking scenario I want to run by you.
Okay.
All right. This is going to take us beyond WrestleMania all the way up to SummerSlam.
Really?
And I can't take credit for all of this because, quite frankly, this idea I saw, but I've built upon it. Okay, let's start with Elimination Chamber. So, as our fans know, we record this show before SmackDown. So I'm going to assume Damian Priest is going to qualify for the Elimination Chamber on SmackDown.
That is terribly boring.
Stay with me, though, buddy.
Okay, I'll stay with you.
So we will have in the Elimination Chamber, we'll have Damian Priest eliminating Drew McIntyre in some way, shape, or form. That will allow Drew McIntyre to blame Damian Priest, setting up their match headed into WrestleMania. Okay. Then Damian Priest gets eliminated, let's say by CM Punk. I don't know. I don't care who eliminates him. Somebody eliminates him. The Elimination Chamber goes on. We have John Cena in now. We have Logan Paul in now, right? We still have CM Punk in there. We have Seth Rollins in the Elimination Chamber. And about this time, CM Punk brings in his favor from Paul Heyman. And that is Roman Reigns making his way to the ring, entering somehow through nefarious ways into the Elimination Chamber, spearing Seth Rollins, and CM Punk pinning Seth Rollins to eliminate Rollins. That sets up Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins at WrestleMania. Now, you've got Punk and Logan Paul and John Cena. Well, let's just say John Cena gets the victory over Logan Paul. Why? Because I just don't like Logan Paul. That's why. So Logan Paul's eliminated, and it's down to CM Punk and Cena, right? Just like Royal Rumble, Cena's one of the last men standing, has the opportunity to go on the main event WrestleMania. What happens? No, CM Punk gets the 1, 2, 3. Okay, follow me here. So that sets up CM
Punk. Much better than Cena.
So much, because we already know Jey Uso and Gunther are at WrestleMania. That sets up CM Punk and Cody at WrestleMania. Okay, it also sets up John Cena. So who's John Cena going to face? John Cena and Logan Paul at WrestleMania. Or I know, but it makes sense. Or John Cena kind of plays out the role Seth Rollins did a few years ago, like needing a way, needing a path, needing an opponent to get to WrestleMania, right? And Triple H provides him with that opponent in the Viper, Randy Orton. So we get Cena and Orton at WrestleMania, which I would watch. I would watch that. I would watch Logan Paul and Cena and then try to decide who I wanted to lose more. Not who I wanted to win, but who I wanted to lose. But Orton and Cena, yeah, I'd take that. I'd take that in a heartbeat at WrestleMania. So we're at WrestleMania. CM Punk defeats Cody Rhodes for the WWE title. Okay. We move on to Money in the Bank.
All right.
Surprise entrant into Money in the Bank. John Cena, who wins Money in the Bank.
Oh, gee.
I know. You love this, don't you?
Yeah.
Cena goes on. Now, if you remember, Cena had a while back, Cena won the Money in the Bank, and he said he was going to make his announcement as to when he's going to cash it in. He's not going to do this sneak in at the opportune time to cash it in. So Cena announces he's going to cash in his Money in the Bank at SummerSlam against CM Punk.
Oh.
Cena defeats CM Punk at SummerSlam to get his 17th title, world title, WWE Championship, whatever you want to call it. WWE gets to celebrate Cena the way they've been wanting to, as the incredible, underdog that overcomes all the odds, the hustle, loyalty, respect, all that. They get to celebrate him, blah, blah, blah. Cena at Survivor Series, let's say, drops the world title to Randy Orton, his opponent from WrestleMania, or Roman Reigns. Take your pick.
Anybody
so there you go.
Cena. ABC, anybody but Cena.
I knew you were going to love it, man, but I'm telling you that I could see that playing out. I'm not saying that I want that to happen. What I'm saying is I could see that playing out. And it would give me a reason. It actually has given me a reason to now be a little interested in the Elimination Chamber, because you remember before I said I'm not even going to watch it because, Cena did that press conference and we know he's going to win it. Now he's going to go on to WrestleMania and be in the main event. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think they're going to allow Cena to be in the main event at WrestleMania. I think they're going to allow him to have his time to shine in the summer and feature someone else in the main event at WrestleMania.
Well, as far as fantasy booking, and this isn't me, this is something I've read out on the interwebs, I've heard another name pop up. Brock Lesnar. I don't know how he'd fit into the Elimination Chamber, but it wouldn't it wouldn't bother me if, let's say, Cena does win and Brock puts him out of action, kayfabe, for about 2 months. So he misses WrestleMania in his title shot.
I don't think you're going to have Cena missing WrestleMania. And you know how you feel about Cena?
Yeah, that's how you feel about Brock?
Exactly. I don't need Brock Lesnar back in the WWE. I don't need the part-timer. I don't need the guy that's going to come in and do the job.
Part-timer? What is Cena? Bro, you know.
Well, no. I agree.
4 times this year.
No, listen. No. I agree. I agree with that. I'm not a Cena guy, right? But I would rather it play out like that than to see Brock Lesnar. I'm still having a hard time believing that Brock Lesnar will ever be allowed back into the WWE based on the not so great behavior that he seemed to have participated in with McMahon and all of that. And I'm just going to leave that right there.
I've got one more idea for you. Do you hear
All right, shoot it.
Do you hear it in the Wayback Machine? Goldberg. Oh,
no. Why don't we just bring back Kevin Nash?
Yeah.
Oh.
I'd be there for that.
Oh. I want to see Goldberg is about as much as I want to see Brock Lesnar. So yeah, I think I will pass on Goldberg. I think I'll pass on Brock Lesnar. I'd love to pass on Cena, but apparently we're going to get him crammed down our throats. And I wouldn't mind seeing, now that I'm thinking about it, because I really didn't think that far out in terms of who Cena drops the title to. But instead of Randy Orton, and instead of Roman Reigns, maybe we end Cena's retirement tour with giving the belt back to where it began with Cody Rhodes. I could watch a Cody Cena match. I could deal with that. Goldberg, Brock Lesnar. I mean, let's bring back the missing link, by goodness. Jeez. Well, fans, I tell you what we need to bring back. We need to bring back a little discussion on WFC, and we're going to do that right after these messages.
Hello, wrestling fans. The gentleman Jody Powell here. Are you searching for an engaging speaker for your next church event, civic meeting, industry conference, or a company-wide motivational session? Well, look no further. I'd be honored to bring energy, insight, and inspiration to your event. With experience as a 2022 Toastmasters World Championship of Public Speaking semifinalist, I know how to connect with audiences, both large and small. Whether it's an intimate gathering or a packed auditorium, I'll deliver a memorable and impactful message tailored to your needs. Visit today at www.jodypowellspeaks.com to explore my keynotes, talks, and trainings. Let's make your next event unforgettable. Book me today. You'll be glad you did.
Welcome back, wrestling fans, to Falls Count Anywhere. And Mike, we got to talk about Wrestling for Christ. What happened this past Saturday night on Saturday Night Praise and Power Hour? We saw Dylan Dollar of the Foundation get his rematch with Austin Alexander and just put it on the kid. I mean, you could tell how embarrassed Dylan Dollar was from the week prior when Austin Alexander was able to roll him up and get a very quick 1-2-3 from Dr. Arsenio Silva, who was the PE teacher at Walhalla Middle School. Well, after that match, after last week's match where Dylan Dollar just destroyed Austin Alexander, he calls out Dr. Silva and challenges him. And Dr. Silva's there, answers the challenge. And that led to a main event tag team match with the Foundation and Dr. Silva and a partner of his choice. Now, I said in the broadcast, and I'll say it again, may not have been the smartest decision on Dr. Silva's part, because it's one thing to have bravado. It's one thing to run in and have a referee shirt on and count a 1-2-3. But all of a sudden, now you are in the ring wrestling something you haven't done before. And you're not just wrestling any jobbers, any jabronis. You're wrestling the WFC Tag Team Champions.
Sounds like Andy Kaufman back in the day whenever he told Jerry Lawler that wrestling was fake.
Exactly. What a great movie. Jim Carrey portrayed him very well. Almost lifelike. You know, all right, I'm going to go down a rabbit hole. You took me down this rabbit hole. There are a couple of movies that are very close to real. That one, which Jim Carrey started in, I forget, it's something Man on the Moon or something like that. I forget what it's called.
Yeah, I don't remember what it is.
But the Jim Carrey, the Andy Kaufman documentary Jim Carrey was in. And the other one is don't remember the name of that one, but it's the one where it's about Queen, the band Queen. The guy Remy, and I forget the actor's name, looked just like Freddie Mercury, and they did Live Aid. It looked almost similar. I love it when movies that are about real life events actually look like the real life event. Mm-hmm. Anyway, that was a waste of a minute down that rabbit hole, but now you know more about the gentleman. It's good. But yeah, so here we are in this main event where Dr. Silva comes out. And who's he come out with but the hometown hero, Big Dan Holdman, right? And Holdman is like, hey guys, put those tag team titles on the line against us. Foundation wasn't biting at all. What they did say was, fine, if you get a victory, Big Dan, you'll get a shot at our tag team titles on down the line. And that was enough. Big Dan was like, fine, let's do it. But it wasn't Big Dan Holdman picking up the victory, Mike. It was Dr. Silva locking in the ankle lock on Dylan Dollar. Didn't get the pin. He made him tap. So incredible.
When you say ankle lock, are we talking about like the former gold medalist Kurt Angle?
We are talking about the angle lock. Yes, absolutely. He locked that bad boy in, and it was in the middle of the ring. Dylan Dollar tried to crawl over to the rope, and Dr. Silva pulled him back out to the middle of the ring. You can tell that Dr. Silva had a little training there with Big Dan in the back before he came out, and obviously Holman taught him that move, and there you go. And boy, I tell you, the Walhalla Middle School exploded when Dr. Silva was able to pick up the victory over the WFC Tag Team Champions, which, by the way, allows Big Dan Holman and the partner of his choosing. If I were him, I'd call up Dr. Silva and say, hey, let's go get these titles. But it allows him a WFC Tag Team title shot down the line. Now, speaking of tag team titles, the number one contenders, the Conquerors, 2 weeks ago, Kenny Austin lost to Zachariah Cutter. And Perfect Vision now has a claim that, hey, we've got a victory over these guys. We should be in the mix. Well, Kenny Austin came back and took on a newcomer to WFC, Savage Kincaid. And when you say savage, I mean, dude was savage. I mean, he had, he came out with this, I don't know, animal bone, turkey leg, something swinging around. He bit Kenny Austin's finger and was kind of licking his fingers saying, that was good. But in the end, it was Kenny Austin hitting the crucifix and picked up the victory. And so a resounding statement there made by the Conquerors, Kenny Austin, to say, yeah, I might have dropped one to Zachariah Cutter, but we're still the Conquerors. And he was able to get that victory. So I don't know, Mike. I think it's setting up. This tag team division is really shaping up. Coming up this week, this Saturday on Saturday Night Praise and Power Hour, we get an opportunity to see a legend in the wrestling business in the ring, as the Barbarian is going to be part of Saturday Night Praise and Power Hour. My understanding is that the Barbarian is going to work a match. So I'm really excited to see that this coming Saturday. So fans, you want to tune in Saturday Night Praise and Power Hour at 6 p.m. on Abundant TV, just before you tune in to watch Elimination Chamber. And speaking of tuning in, tune back in right after these messages for a very special Finding Tomorrow. Oh, hello, wrestling fans. The gentleman Jody Powell here. And I can't tell you how much I love this devotional written by my partner on Falls Count Anywhere, the mad scientist, Mike Buchanan. He wrote this book called Feeling Down, Look Up. You want to get your copy today? It's on Amazon.
So you're going to want to search for Feeling Down, Look Up by Mike Buchanan. And it's got verses, it's got stories, it's even got a place to make notes. It's fantastic. You'll thank me later.
Welcome back, wrestling fans, and especially those of you that tune in for this part right here at the end of Finding Tomorrow. Jody and I were talking about something when we were in break, and we think that its importance is going to grow in the years ahead of us. And it's a verse found in Matthew 24. And Jody, I believe you said 9 through 14?
Yeah.
Do you have that up on your side?
I do. And I'll read it real quick, Mike. Starting in verse 9, it says, "Then you will be handed over," and this is Jesus talking, by the way. "Then you will be handed over to be persecuted and put to death, and you will be hated by all nations because of me. At that time, many will turn away from the faith and will betray and hate each other. And many false prophets will appear and deceive many people. Because of the increase of wickedness, the love of most will grow cold. But the one who stands firm to the end will be saved. And this gospel of the kingdom will be preached in the whole world as a testimony to all nations. And then the end will come." Now, Mike,
Yeah.
I mentioned to you in the break that there's a verse in there that stood out to me right now that has never really popped to me before. And verse 12, it says, "Because of the increase of wickedness, the love of most will grow cold." How many times do we say, boy, it just seems like people are meaner to one another, or it's not like the olden days, and you can't leave your doors unlocked. You can't let your kids play out until the street lights come on because why? Because the world's getting more wicked. There's less love. And, we opine for it, right? I mean, we want people to love one another more. And Christ preaches love, but he's giving us a very clear warning here that as we get closer and closer to the end times, love's going to be kind of uncommon. And we talked about the sensorizer or whatever it was to give people common sense. We might need to make the lovealizer because it doesn't sound like there's going to be a lot of love going on the closer we get to the end of times.
In another place, Jesus said, "As it was in the days of Noah, so will it be whenever he returns."
Yeah.
Well, Jody, in the days of Noah, our listeners may not realize this, but in the days of Noah, the Bible says every thought, not some thoughts, not an occasional thought, every thought of man was only evil continually.
Yeah.
So God looked at Noah and said, you and your wife and your kids are going to build a boat, and I'm going to take you out of here. Everybody else, dead. God is a God of love. God is also a God of judgment.
Yeah.
Now, that being said, Jesus said, people will know that you're Christians because you argue with them on Facebook. Wait, I think that's right. Hold on. Jesus said people will know that you're a Christian by winning the argument. I don't think that's right either, Jody. What did Jesus say?
Jesus said people will know that you are a Christian because of how you voted.
No.
No? Well, what does he say then, Mike?
I think that's, in all seriousness, he said, Jesus will know you are my disciples if you have love for one another.
Exactly. And love for one another can be hard at times. It's one of those things where you hear it. Love your neighbor as yourself, right? Love your enemies, and we kind of hear it, and especially if you grew up in church like I did, you hear it over and over and over again, and it kind of loses its punch because, like, yeah, okay, I'm supposed to love everybody. Not a big deal. I can do that until you interact with everybody. Think of the people that you've interacted with this week and how difficult it is to say, I love every single one of them. I long for every single one of them to know the Lord. I long for their repentance. I long for their salvation. I long for them to be with me in heaven one day. That's a lot harder than just like, oh yeah, I can love everybody. We're so different, and we have so many different personalities, and we have so many different opinions, so many different beliefs, so many different cultures, so many different things that are important to us, that it's natural for us to have strife and to have conflict and to have debates. And we want to debate, and especially as Christians, we're emboldened and we're passionate about debating. But as Mike said, that Jesus didn't say to win every debate. He didn't say to prove your point at all costs.
Nope.
Jesus said to love your enemies and to pray for those that persecute you. And we just heard in verses 9 through 14, we're going to be persecuted. And many times we already are.
Yeah, there's some stuff happening over in Europe that maybe we can get into next week, because I know you have something you want to talk about along these lines, Jody. You know, the Bible in Genesis tells a story where the moral of the story, if you will, is what man meant for evil, God means for good. And this just hit me while I'm sitting here looking at Jody. What God means for good, Satan means for evil.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Absolutely. And it's why Satan will whisper lies into our ears. And we wonder sometimes how people could believe certain things, or we wonder why there is such less common sense. It's because a lot of times we've allowed that door to be ajar, and Satan has a little foothold in that door. And he can't force you, he can't overpower you, but he can deceive you. And he can whisper and he can lie. And that's what he does. And that's how he gets in. He gets in because we let him in. Mike, you mentioned something I want to talk about next week. And I definitely want to talk about what was said on a podcast by a former professional wrestler not too long ago. A few weeks ago, it was said that both Moses and Jesus were false prophets.
Yeah.
And
so come on.
What's that?
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no. So I want us to spend a lot of time next week thinking about something as Christians. Now, realize that we've just heard someone say that Jesus Christ is a false prophet. They've spat in our face. They've laughed. They've mocked us. They've persecuted us. They've said that what we base our entire life and belief and foundation on is a joke. Okay. Now, the question that I have for you, and the response that I want to get from our listeners, how do we respond to that? How do we address that? And right here, right down below, you see our email address. So between now and next week, I'd love to get some emails from our viewers and from our listeners about how would you respond to the fact that there is a professional wrestler that has said not only Moses, but Jesus Christ himself is a false prophet?
Not just athletes or professional wrestlers, but anybody.
Anyone.
Celebrities are saying crazy stuff all the time, like Kanye West. Anyway, Jody, do you want to wrap this up before I put myself in a world of hurt here, kid?
I'll be glad to wrap this up, Mike, because I'm excited for next week. I want you to tune in for our Finding Tomorrow segment next week as we talk about how we address someone saying that Jesus Christ is a false prophet, someone saying something disparaging against what we believe, what our foundation is, and how we really are to biblically address those comments. And we're going to do that next week. I'll give you a hint. It's very common for us to want to get into an argument or debate and prove our point. But I think before we respond, we should do what Mike always says. How does it go again, Mike?
Don't watch out. Look up.
That's good advice, fans. You want more good advice? Stay tuned, because coming up on Abundant TV, it's The Clash with Jeff Dixon, Chris Whaley, right here on Abundant TV.